Act, and the goal and genesis behind this bill again is to make sure that if you have an actual injury related to asbestos or silica, that you will receive and you should receive a just compensation that a jury shall provide. If you do not have a cognizable injury, what we're going to do for you is we're not going to let you recover right now, but to allay your fears of any statute of limitations problem, we are going to toll the statute of limitations to allow you to be able to recover. Hopefully you will never recover because you will never have an identifiable asbestos or silica injury, but if you do, you will be able to file a lawsuit and be able to have a full and complete recovery for this. So a lot of the lawyers in the plaintiff's bar were concerned because if they came to you, if you came to them and said, I was just exposed to a significant amount of asbestos, there was some very genuine concern that that lawyer is then on the hook and needed to file the claim within 5 years, which is the Missouri statute of limitations. This bill helps alleviate that concern and to say, we're going to let you file, you're going to be able to recover your damages, but you must have a cognizable asbestos or silica injury.
One of the major problems over the past decade in asbestos litigation is that up to 90% of the claims brought nationally have been brought by people who are not sick. This bill is not about doing away with claims of those who are legitimate and deserving plaintiffs. To the contrary, the idea of the bill is to get the people who are not sick out of the system so that people with cancer, lung cancer, and mesothelioma can have their claims heard more quickly and hopefully be able to obtain more adequate recoveries. One of the great tragedies of the litigation over the past decade is that as now 85 companies have been forced into bankruptcy, the amount of money available to pay people with legitimate claims has gone down. In the Manville Trust, for instance, which was the first trust set up to pay asbestos claimants, cancer victims are only getting 5 cents on the dollar because the trust was swamped earlier on by so many people who have no lung function impairment. That is, people who may have been exposed to asbestos, worked in an occupation where they were exposed, but they can walk up a flight of stairs just as well as you and me.
There is not an intent in this legislation to prevent those truly injured individuals from finding their way into court. This is an attempt to make sure that those who are injured that have damages receive some sort of recoupment for those damages. At the same time, we don't want to see Missouri become a place where these suits are filed. And yes, there's been lots of comments about, well, they haven't been filed yet, so why should we be worried about it? Well, once it happens, once we get to that stage, it becomes such a windfall at that point that it's hard to go and stop the problem. We've already seen this take place, just up the road in Mexico, Missouri. Mexico, Missouri is a place where asbestos litigation ended up shutting down AP Green. That cost that community a number of jobs, and you have to, in looking at it, you want to make sure that the people who are injured receive their benefit, and the people who are not injured don't shut down businesses, cost other people their jobs, and it's pensions that are lost. It's stock valuation for those people who have been exposed. I would argue that in this building, we've all been exposed to asbestos. I know that there was some state reps that had to have, state representatives that had to have their offices remediated due to asbestos that was in them when they were replacing carpet and that type of thing. So probably all of us that are here on a regular basis have been exposed to asbestos. Now, have we contracted any ailment from that exposure? That's the question. And there's not a desire in this bill, in this legislation, by the business community to prevent those claims from going forward when an ailment presents itself. What we want to prevent is those individuals like us that have been in this building and have been exposed and have no manifestation of any type of disease.
Let me, in addressing this bill, disclose I have a law firm in St. Louis called the O'Brien Law Firm, and our primary source of business is representing people who are afflicted with asbestos disease. But let me tell you, when I've listened to the introduction of the statute by the people testifying in support of the statute, it's a classic bait and switch. What they say they want to do and what they say the statute does is not what the statute in reality does. This has been compared to The deferred docket, you've been told Madison County, St. Clair County, Cook County in Illinois have what's called a deferred docket, and that this statute maps that docket. It doesn't. Those dockets deal with one thing only, which is if you have non-malignant disease, how do we look at those cases when you do enter and exit the court system? They do not impact, affect, or in any way address somebody who has a cancer claim from asbestos. They leave them alone. This statute has the most draconian provisions you can imagine. If you have lung cancer in this state or mesothelioma, this statute puts a million hurdles in front of you that make your access to the court nearly impossible, and to a great extent restricts your rights completely.
We are also opposed to this bill due to fairness. We don't think it's fair to take out one section of the citizenship to exclude them from being able to take their grievances to court to be able to get justice. Having come out of an industry that is heavily litigated at this time with asbestos lawsuits, I have a vested interest in not seeing the companies go broke or go away. Last year when this bill was introduced, I went back to my company, asked them if they had a hand in this bill. Our headquarters is in Pittsburgh, so it could have come from anywhere. They said they didn't know, they would check. They come back, said no, they did not have any interest in this bill and had no hand in it, and was satisfied with the way things were. They were just going to go get through the bankruptcy and move on. So I don't know if there's a whole lot of problem to be addressed in this bill.